Now, we are digging deeper into what to expect during opening statements in Glynn County later this morning. A jury will begin to weigh the innocence or guilt of these three men accused of chasing down Ahmaud Arbery last year as he was running through their neighborhood. One of them shot and killed the 25-year-old. Defense attorney Page Pate, who we need to point out is not affiliated with this case, joins us live via Zoom. Good morning, Page.
Good morning, Jen.
So would you put yourself in the shoes of the prosecution and the defense here for a moment? Key points that the prosecutors will make to the jury this morning?
Well, I think they're going to focus on the evidence. Don't try to over-try this case. Don't try to make a statement with this case. They have a fairly solid murder case if they will just stick to the evidence. I believe they're going to try to play parts of the video that was taken of the actual incident during their opening statements. I think that's a great idea. You're going to go ahead and get the jury locked into their version of what happened, and the jury can see it for themselves with their own eyes. That is incredibly powerful evidence, and I think the state is going to focus, at least in opening statements, almost exclusively on that video evidence. From the defense side, obviously, you need to talk about what was happening before the video was taken. You need to try to establish at least the possibility that the jury will accept the defense that these individuals, the McMichaels and Mr. Bryan, were pursuing Ahmaud Arbery because they thought he was involved in committing crimes in the neighborhood. They're going to have to sell that narrative if they have any chance of getting a not guilty verdict in the case.
And perhaps somehow use that video to their advantage to suggest that this was self-defense and nothing more than that. So Paige, your initial reaction, though, to learning that all but one of the jurors is white?
Well, I think a lot of people are concerned about that. It was a very lengthy process, jury selection in this case. So many people had heard about the case, had seen the video, and had already made up their minds. So as a result of that process, they had to weed out a lot of people who I think would have been sympathetic to the prosecution in this case. And so at the end of the day, they ended up with only one black person. And obviously that is not reflective of the demographics of Glynn County. It's very different. There's at least 30% African American in this community. That's not reflected on this jury. I think this jury is probably the best the defense could have hoped for in this case, in this current environment. So they may be off to a head start here.
Given that, how unusual is it, though, for a presiding judge to acknowledge that there appears to be potential intentional discrimination in the selection of the jury?
Yeah, Jen, a lot of people are concerned about the way he made that ruling. I think ultimately he made the correct ruling. Under Georgia law, once there's been a challenge that a strike was made for a discriminatory reason, the lawyer simply just has to give a race-neutral reason. The judge doesn't really drill down and say, is that really the reason you struck this juror? They just need to hear something on the record. I don't think the judge should have said, I found intentional discrimination, but that's okay. What he should have said was the state has presented at least, an argument that there was discrimination here, but I've listened to the defense and I'm going to accept their reasons. It's a poor system, and I think people should see this and recognize it for what it is. We don't do enough to determine that strikes are being exercised fairly in the jury system in Georgia.
But given that, we also know that there is a lot of strategy, right? You certainly know this when you're picking a jury. That said, is there an argument here that it was bad strategy on the prosecution's side here, or was this just the way the order of the jurors that came into the room happened to fall yesterday?
Right. I just think it's the way things worked out in this case. Again, I think the prosecution is at somewhat of a disadvantage because anyone who's seen the video and had an opinion that this was murder, they were automatically removed, even before you got to the point where the lawyers were exercising their individual strikes. So the state was at somewhat of a disadvantage, because if you walked into that courtroom last week or the week before and you didn't know about this case, you're not the type of juror that the state wanted. So I think that, at least for their side, is going to be a challenge going forward.
Page Pate, defense attorney, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jen.